I don't think that I can express all myself because you
No,
see my English is my main, so having like advanced English skills. So
yeah,
I
no, that's
probably will probably do shorter answers.
right. Yeah, no worries. Honestly, English is such a clustered language. It's we've had plenty of guests before who have ended up kind of simplifying the English, and then like I'll go ahead and continue and advance it, or I'll put more detail in there. But um, ladies and gentlemen, and everything possibly in between, welcome to another session of the Anatomy Crosscast before the end of 2025. Today, we are making history because for the first time ever, except for the technical exception of a pretext to human suffering with a couple of their members being located in this country, which is just south of the U.S., today, on the 28th of December at 10:06 a.m., starting at 10:06 a.m., we are welcoming our first band based in Mexico, our first artist based in Mexico, specifically Guadalajara, Mexico. This is a Guadalajara beatdown band. This is going to be a session for Enemy 906 and their vocalist, which is going to be phenomenal. We wanted to host this band a lot earlier, a lot sooner, and quoting the original email that I sent over, not even through the Anatomy Crosscast email, mind you, this was through my main email. If I go back in time, we originally reached out and contacted this band May 20th, so spring of 2024. So way more than a
That
year
is a
ago.
lot.
Yeah, way more than a
I have
year
an
ago.
idea of that. Like
And
I
the thing,
wasn't currently on my email, and I just seen the email and was like, oh yeah, I just remember about the podcast, but I have an idea how much that we have to talking about.
right? Um, and honestly, it's been a journey. It's been a lot of time. A lot has happened since the original email sent out on May 20th, 2024. A lot of stuff happened. Let's just say that. But we originally reached out to this band, to this artist, in reference to their latest full-length album, Through the Hell. Okay? That album has since gotten more cozy, more comfortable on public domain, and I do believe they have released on top of that album 2 different singles throughout this year. Now, today, our intention is to, as per the first date crosscast session culture, right? We are simply here to get to know the members of the band, and hopefully over time, depending on how things go, maybe if Enemy 906 ends up being more comfortable with us, they'll want to have more members on. And after all, I purchased through Temu a pair of AI integrated language translation earbuds. So it'll actually make it hopefully to where if the AI can catch the audio in real time, this means that, in my opinion, we have the opportunity to actively translate a conversation, and at the very least, I can respond in English, and we can kind of continue the conversation, and then I can kind of reground and communicate with our audience what's going on during that conversation. To me, language barriers, it is simply a barrier. It is simply an obstacle that you can hop over. And one of the things that I would love for the Anatomy Crosscast to be known for is not really worrying about language barriers. Simply looking to conquer that, jump over those, and therefore take down and make a lot more bands around the world in all these smaller countries so much more comfortable with telling their story on our show. However, let's go ahead and get started, right? No need for an introduction. We are getting closer and closer to 120 episodes. The goal is definitely to get 30 done by the end of the year, but I mean, we're doing a lot. We're doing a lot, and that's what's important. Sir, how are we doing today?
Well, I'm doing well. I just awake a couple hours ago. This is my Hopefully they got away from the work, so
There you
I'm
go.
pretty cool.
He's like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go after a good night's of rest. And what's interesting too to me, sorry about my chair for anybody who can hear that. This is a very old chair now. Um, what I can say and what I thought was very interesting is compared to most of the sessions that we've been doing recently, where, for example, we're jumping all the way over to New Zealand or Serbia, South Africa, Belgium, and we have to take in consideration drastic time differences. Well, with today's session, me and this gentleman are only about like an hour, but like he's only about an hour ahead of me, which is really, really nice. And it just makes me think about how science works in reference to the equator, right? Like maybe the time zone differences is a little bit different, but from what I'm understanding, speaking for the southern hemisphere, certain parts of the world like Australia, New Zealand, right? For the United States, it's
Oh yeah, totally. You can.
currently fall, winter, but for them it's summer. I always try to keep those things in consideration when doing these sessions. But it's always fun to learn about. So let's go ahead and start off with that, I guess. What's the weather looking like down there? Is it cold? Is it nice and cozy right now?
Uh, well, actually, it's weird because the word here in Guadalajara it's weird, totally weird. Like we used to be at 5 grades in the morning, so which is kind of cold. Yeah, it's cold. But actually, we're like at 22. I don't know, probably 22 grades. Let me check how much that is. Actually, we are at 19 grade, which is not cold, but isn't warm. But like most of the year, it's warm as fucking hell. Like we used to be at 43, 45, 39. Uh, it's really warm, but actually, it's like, bro, I'm wearing a fucking jacket. Like, it's cool.
He's
It's
like, it's
actually
cold
cool, you
enough.
know?
I like that answer. Okay.
No,
So,
not really cold, not really cold. Like, you can perfectly stay out without shirt, and that's no problem. There's a bunch of people that cannot be outside without a hoodie or a jacket, you know?
right.
And yeah, I'm more used to the cold weathers.
Fair enough. So am I. I mean, I'm not used to the cold weather because I've lived in such a hotter climate for such a long time. Arizona being the second hottest state throughout the U.S. People have heard that plenty of times before. They don't need to hear it again. It's rough up here. Arizona is a very tough
Yeah.
climate to get used to, but interesting. Love to hear that. Am I noticing correctly that the logo on your hat is that for Castiel or a different band?
Oh, it's not from any band. It's like actually the brand of or all bases. Like he has his own brand, and
Oh,
he just gave me this head. It literally was the first head that he has in my hand. But yeah, I got such a collection from a lot of caps and hats and whatever. But no, this isn't from any band.
understood. Okay. Well, sir, let's go ahead then and get introduced to you by name, okay? And what you do for Enemy 906, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, well, I'm Rodrigo. I'm the lead singer and probably one of the composers on the songs. Obviously, the main composer is Edgar, the guitarist. Yeah, his name is Edgar, and he totally looks like an Edgar. But yeah,
Awesome.
he's the composer. He's totally the man uh, in the in the composition of the songs. Actually, there's Gerardo. Gerardo is the drummer. He also wrote write part of the songs and I wrote the lyrics and whatever. But yeah, I do vocals for them.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, in that case, because of the show, I have a decent skill at remembering names, but it is a process of regurgitating that information at least a couple more times. So, if you could do me a favor, sir, and because you are the only member of Enemy 906 that we have in session today, go ahead and introduce us to yourself a little bit more thoroughly, right? And take about 10 to 20 minutes to tell your story in becoming a musician, in becoming a music enthusiast, a vocalist, and maybe let's talk about any bands or band projects you were in before Enemy 906, with all of that information leading up to you joining or founding Enemy 906 and up until now. Take it away, sir.
Okay. Well, I'm actually 28 year old and have almost like 15 years into hardcore vocal scene. And I think that's the main thing about why I get closer, why I get the decision to have band. Like, actually, my sister and my brother-in-law used to be into the hardcore scene. They took me to that hole. But yeah, uh, mainly I started into the hardcore about my sister and my brother-in-law. They took me to my first hardcore show was Born from Pain from Netherlands.
Okay. Born from Pain. All
That
right.
was yeah, that was my very first hardcore show here in Guadalajara. I don't remember the exactly year. I think it was about 2012. I don't
2012 was
know.
a
I don't
year to get
remember.
into metal. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I was into metal before because my sister was also emo. So about the 2006, I were listening to Alessana, Job for Cowboy, and that shit. But I never went into a real hardcore show. Went like metal shows with my brother because my brother is actually kind of metalhead, and he started showing me bands like Behemoth, like Belfigor, like I don't know, Amon Mart, and that shit. Like, actually, my very first metal show was in 2008 with Metallica playing here in Guadalajara.
Damn.
Was Metallica and Mastodon. Yeah, Metallica and Mastodon. They play here, and that was my very first metal show. And I went to Rammstein shows, and I went to Amon Mart, to Arcanemy, and that shit, We're much more into metal before hardcore, but I started into hardcore music into 2012, something like that. I don't remember. And yeah, well, Born from Pain was my very first hardcore show, and I totally get into that music because I feel up the energy. I never seen anything like that before in my life, and was totally like mm, an euphoria that I started feeling,
Yeah.
like people the fucking breakdowns. You see everybody dancing was like, nah, what the fuck, this is fucking crazy, and totally all relations with the metal scene, and I started only going to hardcore shows, hardcore and deathcore shows. And well, when I was into high school, I met a couple guys that actually have a deathcore band, and they just invites me to join them. Like I used to do fail screaming sessions in my room. Like never take any kind of mm, any kind of class with anything with anybody. I just did everything myself. Uh, like only see live videos from bands that I love, like I don't know, probably Suicide Silence, Job for a Cowboy, and I don't know. I have an idea about the bands that I used to listen on those days. To be honest, yeah, but yeah, I started like seeing those live videos and see like, oh, this guy did the show like this, oh, and shit like that, And then I started seeing the videos of the Miss. I don't remember the name of that Miss, that ma'am. That actually is like the vocal coach from all the famous guys. I don't remember its name, but
Um.
I seen some there.
Well,
Uh,
Cardivox, Mark Garrett from
I don't remember.
Cardivox. No.
I don't know, but she has a documental like called "The Art of Screaming," something like that.
Okay.
And yeah, she's actually the famous vocal coach. I don't remember her name to be honest.
Melissa Cross. Melissa Cross.
He's really famous. Yeah, Melissa Cross. Yeah, yeah, she's really famous. Yeah, and I started seeing some of the videos, and I started like practicing by myself in my room. And in the high school, like we are stupid about like all of us were stupid into high school and doing weird stuff. Like I mean, with the weird metalheads
Yeah.
in the high school, and we were like just fucking screaming the whole day, like fucking weirdos. And and yeah, some of those guys, well, thanks to those guys, I met another guys, and those guys heard me screaming and was like, "Yo, bro, you must join my band. We have a deathcore band." And was like, "Okay, I'm down." Like I never been in that before. Like I tried to do one band myself with one of my friends, but it doesn't work. Like we just uh, we just try to do something one time and it doesn't work. And it's supposed to be like a black metal down tempo band. Nah, we never do a shit. Like we don't even have a name for the band. And then I joined this new band that was called Natural Selection, and I've been into Natural Selection by 5 years. I don't remember.
That
Yeah, it
sounds
was like when I entered the university.
that's cool. No, Natural
5 years. I
Selection is
don't.
a really sick band name.
You know.
Well, no, I don't. Yeah, I don't know them, but like
Uh,
that's a cool
like
name.
ah, okay, cool. Like that band was going really well because we get signed for Core when it was great, when it was like right after all the shit that happened and that shit, and right after Natural Selection dies, I did a beatdown band called 44 Pollution. It was just like uh, a Ethernet band, like members from Salvador, from Spain, from Panama. Chile, like we actually have only few singles, but we don't do anything more. Like the band dies too, and with all the ex members from Natural Selection, I just built ME906 because to be honest, the ambient into Natural Selection was totally toxic. I know I haven't words to describe exactly what was it, but it was totally toxic. Like uh, the main guitarist, the leader from the band, the actual the owner from the band, was like a break. Like I haven't words to describe him. That like nobody wants to work with him, and all the people just was leaving the band or he take them out. He just take me out from the band.
Oh
He take
shit!
me out from the band, and we all did Enemy 906, and well, that's basically the story of Enemy 906. Enemy 906 was we natural selection. Well, was natural selection actually,
Damn. Okay. Cool.
and and yeah, well, I'm about into bands like almost
Well, you know what's really crazy
probably
about
think
that is I actually do know about Natural Selection because the thing is, I think whether it was because this was a Slam Worldwide or Chugcore based release, I remember thinking that the cover art for Abandoned Shakedown was really, really cool. Because this, mind you, this was 2019. This was the same year that Shrine of Mouse's Sheol came out. This was the same year that Shadow of Intense Melancholy or Enterprise Earth's Luciferus came out. This was a big year for deathcore. So I do believe that somewhere at some time in 2019, I did actually end up listening to some of this album, to some of this record, even if it was just on my phone. So to know that all these years later, now, 6 years later, to be specific, we are hosting members of a band that I just happened upon all that time ago now. That is crazy. That is crazy. And I remember being like super into this band, but like it didn't really there was kind of radio silence, right? The band project went quiet, and then apparently now we know why it went quiet. I mean, on the Instagram account itself, it does indeed say hiatus,
Yeah,
and there's nothing else. So it's like, oh, will they ever come back? Who knows? Especially if the guitarist, might be considerably difficult to work with, and maybe that's why Enemy 906 was born. Well, who's to say that they're ever going to come back if they're just going to be, if the one obstacle is one person, which when I think about that, same thing happened with Shrine for the longest time. Same thing happened with Shrine of Malice, where Izzy or Cuckoo, he went on a power trip, this and that. He was upset that they were trying to get onto a label and grow as a band. So he did all these different things. He got into legal battles with them over owning their Oberth album, which never released but got leaked multiple times. I think of people like that, and I'm like, yeah, that actually seems to happen a lot more often than I thought it would. I mean, what is it? Lucas Mann of Rings of Saturn is the reason that Ian Bearer left and then joined Angel Maker, and now they just released their album. Sometimes it really just does come down to either the vocalist or the main songwriter defamed, or what was it? Drown in Sulfur. Most of the members from the original lineup left and formed Defamed after the drummer kicked all of them out. And then I think the drummer went on to become the vocalist of Drown in Sulfur, and then Defamed was born. Like, I seriously have to take a step back now and ask myself, how often does that happen where one member just kicks everyone out and then they just go form their own band because they're like, well, we still want to make music. Who knows? Hopefully, natural selection eventually will come back, because they seem to have something pretty awesome going for them. But it kind of becomes complicated when most of the band just decides to leave and just form another band. But in that case, thank you, Rodrigo, for telling me the story of how Enemy 906 was born. Now, not only that, but you also told us the story of how you ended up getting into metal and hardcore, beat down, down tempo, and your participation in bands like Natural Selection. That's important because it helps us tell this history and start really digging into the scene of Mexican deathcore, of death metal, deathcore, beatdown, and downtempo in the country of Mexico. So I appreciate that. Now, continuing upon learning about you as a vocalist, as a person, you ended up getting into deathcore a little bit later on. So because we're about to jump into the year of 2026, which means we're more than halfway through the 2020s, what albums of the decade, speaking for heavy music, or maybe music in general, have been some of your favorite albums? So from the point of 2020 to now, do you have any records that you regularly listen to and continue to be fascinated by as the years pass?
well, actually, I cannot remember exactly the years about the recordings has now. Uh, Probably the very first deathcore album I listened in my life was for a Cowboy. The first one, like I don't remember its name. What's this? I don't remember. No, no. If I think was the second or the third one. Let me just see the first name. I have an idea about the names for real. Uh,
No worries. I'll go ahead and pull it up.
what Doom? Yeah, Doom from Jafar Cowboy. I think was the very first uh deathcore album I listened and I fucking love. Because as I tell you, my sister used to be emo into 19, sorry, into 20, 20, no, into 2006. In 2006, my sister was emo. Remember, she just showed me the video of SpongeBob uh, singing the Anthem Pop Machine, and I was just a fucking child, and I fucking blow my mind off,
I
and I
bet.
just get into that music from that fucking day. Also, I remember passing my days listening bands like Suffocate, listening the Oakland album, and I have an idea that that album was about beatdown. Like I have an idea about beatdown exists in those days. But yeah, the Oakland Suffocate was probably one of the heaviest albums I ever listened in my life. Also, well, my favorite band actually it's Kill Switch Engage, and obviously my favorite album was As Dying Dies. What's the right name? I have no idea. Silent Dies. Uh, 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 uh. Oh yeah, yeah, as Daily Died. Yeah, that's when my this is my favorite album from Killswitch Engage, and I still listen the old time, but I'm really bad with names of albums. Like, bro, I actually know the 1,000 bands. It's hard to just remember the album's names, the
That's
songs' names, by example.
yeah. No, that's
Uh,
fair.
yeah,
So in that case,
and
maybe attempting to isolate it down to any bands going into this current decade, going into the 2020s. What bands in the scene, whether local to Mexico or maybe on a international scale, on a global scale, what bands have really stuck out to you in the heavy world? And it doesn't have to be deathcore, it doesn't have to be beatdown or anything like that. Let's talk about some bands that have really stuck out to you in recent years.
oh, that's much more easy for me. Probably should be Behemoth. Behemoth's probably one of my favorite bands. Uh, Jumper Cowboy. Um, probably Trivium. Trivium was probably one of my favorite bands those years. The old Linkin Park. I used to listen a lot of the Meteora album.
Right.
Only Meteora and Ivory Theory. That was the only two albums I listened from with Linkin Park. And I don't know. Actually, one of my favorite bands is Body Snatcher, World of Pain, uh, one of these guys, Recount, Healing Flesh. I used to listen a lot of into slam bands like Cardiectomy and like I used to listen to a lot of bands, Harlequin from Germany. Um, no, bro. Uh, fuck, bro. It's a hard question. Like, I have a lot of
Yeah.
favorite bands actually,
No, it's
and I
I love
and
that.
and to be honest, I listen much more of metalcore than hardcore bands. Actually, like Architects by Example, Silent Planet,
Dude,
Invent
yes.
Animes.
Yes.
So I'm much more into metalcore, but probably I'm between hardcore and this and metalcore. Actually, I listen a lot of is a lot of shit. I fucking love Irate.
Okay.
It's one of the only bands that I know all the lyrics.
You said which band do you know all the lyrics to?
uh, Irate from New York City, I guess. But,
Irate. Okay. I've never heard of that one before. That's interesting.
oh no, they're really old. Like they have the Vendetta song. Do you know them? Like, oh, what you fucking criminals? Enough, enough. Rise up, Avengers.
Yeah, I've
Defend the family.
never heard of these guys before, but it does seem that their latest album, their last album that they ever made, was back in 2011. So that was quite a bit of time ago. It's let's see, is this one right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I've never heard of these guys before. The only like
Oh,
metalcore band kind of that I know of from New York that's not even a thing anymore would be Every Time I Die, but that's about it. And they're from
an
Buffalo, New
idea they were
York.
from. I had an idea they were from New York.
Huh.
Yeah, but I read this really, really old band. Like,
I can tell.
holy shit.
I love it though. It looks
Yeah,
sick.
yeah, yeah, they're really old. And well, I don't know. Actually, I listen, as I tell you, I listen much more metalcore, like Eminem's Dance Gavin Dance and that shit, you know?
Really interesting. Well,
Yeah,
in that case, I have to ask the question: do you lean more towards metalcore, and specifically the first generation, like 2000s to 2010s metalcore, so Killswitch Engage, Irate, possibly As I Lay Dying, definitely the
oh, yes, so
older,
like Dying,
yeah, the
All
older,
That Remains,
all that remains for sure.
War of Ages,
Okay.
For Today,
Yeah, you definitely listen
like,
to the older stuff, like the first generation, the first decade, really, in the 21st century
yeah,
with the metalcore.
I
So, like,
remember I was going to, I, I Killed the Pumpkin.
okay,
I Killed the Pumpkin was probably one of my favorite bands back in those days. Actually, there's a band from United Kingdom. They're much more newest, but they actually do such a good metalcore. They are called Acres, I don't know.
how are they spelt,
They're
or how is it?
A-C R ACRES.
Oh, Acres. Okay, Acres. I see. Acres is a newer one.
Yeah, well, they're actually old. Like probably they dropped the first song in 2015. I don't know. They recently started
Yes.
being
No.
famous.
Right. Well, probably when they started getting famous was in 2017, but they actually started in 2014.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that was close.
What is it? The song was called Solace. Their first ever single was Solace. Actually, take that back. It was an EP. So they released an EP back in 2014 called Solace, and this was a 5-track EP. And this was released independently, so they released this on their own. But Acres then is I've seen this name jump around a bit. Um, where are they based? UK. They're based in the United Kingdom. I never would have thought that. They don't look like they're from the UK, but that's cool. So, I mention all of the bands that I do from the first decade worth of metalcore in the 21st century, and I wanted to provide a follow-up question. If you are the frontman and the singer for a beatdown band or a hardcore band, mainly a beatdown band, Guadalajara beatdown specifically, do you think that the first decade worth of metalcore albums in the 21st century for you, when you listen to it, is it kind of a palate cleanser, or is there a specific way that those records inspire or maybe even influence the way that you write modernized beatdown if those records from those 2000 to 2010 metalcore bands, if those albums do inspire you, how does those first couple generations of metalcore and the respective records influence a modern take on beatdown?
Well, to be honest, I think they don't because or probably for today. Because as I tell you, I'm so into the local scene. Fucking, I'm totally into beat people in the shows. So I'm totally a breakdown enjoyer. And it was just with my friends. Like one of the discussions of why natural selection dies was because I tell them to do much slower breakdowns, and the guitarist was like, nah, nah, stupid, that's stupid, that shit, you know. And I totally like the fucking lowest breakdowns, that shit. So and when everything gets screwed up in natural selection, I tell the guys like, bro, let's do slow songs and just see people hitting each other and that's it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and honestly, we ended up doing deathcore instead of beatdown, but yeah, it's the same shit, you know? But
Similar shit for sure. It's like what is it? Deathcore is kind of
same
like
spirit.
it is I forgot what it's called. It was something that happened here in the US a lot, or at least it's something that we were taught and we weren't exactly told it was being done anywhere else. It was like shit. How do I describe it? Just like going out dancing, right? But then like a beatdown would be going into a speakeasy. There you go. So the beatdown, right? That's the slower version. So that's going to a speakeasy, and then deathcore is in that analogy the more busy bars, especially during the Prohibition era when it was like cool and rebellious to go out drinking and get just freaking plastered, and be out on the town, take a night out on the town. Like that's deathcore. Beatdown is a speakeasy. That's what I was trying to get to. But yeah, what a shame that like beatdown speed ended up killing an entire band until further notice. That's it's kind of goofy. The how such a small creative difference can cause such a rift. Of course there were other reasons, but still, like that ended up being the starting domino. That's crazy.
Yeah, probably the bands that actually inspired us to do kind of beatdown or closer to beatdown was the old project from Healing Flesh. What's the name? I don't remember. The old Healing Flesh name was,
The old Peeling Flesh name?
yeah, they used to have another band,
Oh shit.
was it's Strangled, yeah.
Oh right. That's what happened.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they totally inspired us to make beatdown. Like, as I tell you, probably one of my favorite bands is actually World of Pain. They're actually the only band that I have a tattoo. Uh, it's totally World of Pain. It's totally one of my favorite bands. So I tell them like, "Oh, bro, let's do something like World of Pain, Strangled, Body Snatcher, Nasty, because we all fucking love Nasty, Malevolence, and that shit." They were like, "Okay, we're down, we're down." Well, that's why we just decided to do Enemy 906, but yeah, we get really inspired in those bands, and we literally, well, I think that we literally replicate all the Euro hardcore sound. Like, I don't know,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, because we get literally fired into the German and UK bands. I tell you, like, no, actually, No Witness is what is probably one of our favorite bands, and literally with this first Euro tour that we have on May, felt like a fucking dream because we play with all the bands that we get inspired from. Like we play with Raycount, we play with Spawn of Disgust, we played with Now Zodiac, we played with Cleanse Your Fees, Harlequin, No Witnesses. I was fucking excited to see fucking No Witnesses. They fucking opened us a show, like it was fucking crazy for me.
Yeah.
And we actually played with Fuck You from France, and damn it, bro, we just get really excited. We were about to explode from exciting that we had like sharing stage with all the bands that get inspired us.
Yeah. No, it's badass,
And
man. And did you say the show
yeah,
already happened or has yet to happen? Like you guys are waiting to do this next year?
like we always playing about playing in Europe, because we actually can go to the United States because, well,
Yeah.
I don't know why many people in the States doesn't have idea about that we need a visa to play in there and get the visa is every day getting harder and harder.
Yeah.
And any of us has the visa and actually get the visa, it's way more expensive. So we just decided to go Europe instead of United States. So I just get in contact with Marius from Spawn of Disgust, the drummer from Spawn of Disgust. They actually have a booking agency, and I just write him like, bro, we want to go Europe. Friend invite us to a festival in Manchester, and another friend invite us to a festival in Republic. So we want to do more shows. And he was like, okay, I take you and I carry about of us and I do all the booking from the shows.
Okay.
And he did it really, really well. Like, I'm really thankful with Marius and what he did for us. Actually, with the guys from Raycount, like, actually think they are probably one of my closest friends. I really miss them. I really, really miss the Recount guys. And yeah, like bro, like first time that you do a tour with your band, it breaks your mind. Like I totally felt like I want to do this again and again and again and again and again, as much as I thought be possible. But
Absolutely.
yeah, but basically that's probably one of the best experience I had in my life.
Okay, so I just wanted to like clear the air and pinpoint the timeline for this. So this was the Flex Fiesta open air, right?
Yeah,
Okay, okay. So this is what you're talking about. This already did happen. And I mean, yeah, honestly, what's really cool is even looking at this lineup of these artists. We had No Face, No Case on the show. And I remember earlier this year they ended up replying directly to my story and saying that they didn't want to return because, yes, I will admit, out of mistake and out of regret, that at one point, last election season here in the United States, I did vote for a certain orange man. They did not like that whatsoever. And because I had a couple of rebuttals to offer them, nothing like nothing too disrespectful or too mean or anything. I was just like, well, you don't really live here in the U.S., so you don't know what's going on politically. They took that offensively, and therefore No Face, No Case does not want to return onto our show, and I get it. Other than that, though, I mean, plenty of other bands on this lineup that we would love to get on the show. We just haven't successfully made contact just yet. Hopefully going into 2026, though, a lot more artists will be open to taking the show seriously, or at least letting us know, hey, we don't want to jump on, or hey, we would love to jump on. It's like when there's absolutely no contact, that's like the only thing that's kind of annoying to me. But Recount is definitely one of the bands that we've been looking at for a little bit. Bands like Recount or Aimless from Barcelona, truly that modern pissed off metalcore that bands like Alpha Wolf have really brought into the spotlight. So, continuing then upon that, I wanted to segue into the topic. Can't believe I'm using that word for the first time as a podcaster. But I wanted to segue into the location part of today's conversation, and it's about, 45 minutes in. So that'll be part one. Part two, this is our, like I said, first time that we are interviewing and hosting an artist where all of the members are located in a region or a part of Mexico, which is really cool. We finally shot straight south, right? And we're flying past the equator. We're going to Guadalajara specifically. So, Rodrigo, if you could do me a question, if you could do me a favor, sir, not a question, if you could do me a favor, and let's go ahead and learn a little bit more about Mexico. It, from what I've understood, is a beautiful country as long as you stay away from, the northern part of Mexico that's closer to the border, or closer to the U.S.-Mexico border, just because that's where a lot of stuff can go wrong. That's where a lot of people get snatched up. But we're not really talking about that part of Mexico. We're talking about Guadalajara. So, what can you tell me and my audience about Guadalajara that maybe before today they did not know whatsoever?
Well, I don't know what to tell. Like, actually, we had probably one of the best scenes in the country. Like, not only talking about hardcore because I don't want to feel like disrespectful with all my homies from other cities, because every single state have their own bands. Every single state is doing things well, but mainly I think here in Guadalajara we have the most famous and biggest bands from the whole country, and that's the issues because we have a lot of good quality here that people doesn't really support the qualities. Like they are so used to have good bands and nothing new surprise the people. Like we actually have probably the most famous hardcore band in Mexico that is called Vinny the Horror. I don't know if you know them. Vinny
Not
the
yet.
Horror. We actually have like Del Barrio. Del Barrio is probably one of the best bands actually from the city. And there's a new band that is getting really, really, really big recently, and it's called Ladrones. They do like metalcore mixed with corridos. Bro, they're probably actually the huge and the biggest metal band here in Mexico. They are all locals. That like this is talking about the quality of the bands that we have locally. We have actually one of the most famous thrash metal bands from Mexico, and it's called them. Probably you know them. I'm not sure, but yeah, they're like new and they're really breaking up. Oh, like they actually did like Euro tours, and now wait, like it's crazy. Like the most famous Mexican bands are from here from Guadalajara
Interesting.
because we have really good quality into all genres. Like actually in that metal, thrash metal, doom metal has such a big scene here. Hardcore, deathcore, everything is running really well here. But sadly, not the people don't used to support the shows anymore.
Mm,
And and like we actually have like all these shows with 30, 50 people, and promoters start to not bringing any banning here. Like example, Speed is coming Mexico, but they only have two shows, and they're playing Monterrey and Mexico City, and they're not doing a stop here in Guadalajara because, to be honest, it'll be all messed up. I I don't think Speed will charge like 100 to no like 2,000 bucks. I'm pretty sure they charge much more. And nah, bro, that will be such a mistake for people that actually take that show because like doing a show from Speed for 50 persons for 50 people, It's like you should sell the every single ticket into 1,000 pesos, and nobody will pay that much.
Yeah.
Nobody will pay that much. And now, like, it's just impossible to bring this kind of bands in here. Like, and yeah, that's why we are start playing much more outside in Mexico from our state. We are going to Mexico City, to Tijuana, to Monterrey, to places that have m- many more people into shows, and that make it much more fun.
Yeah.
Like the last time that we played into Monterrey, we played for about 120 people, and our latest Mexic local show, sorry, here in Guadalajara, we played for 30. And that's like the normal, like that's the normal people assistance into local scene. It used to be many more people, like back in those years in 2011, 2012. But I don't have idea what the hell happened.
Right.
Like r- r- right after COVID, everything goes fucking down, and yeah, we just give the people that we always give.
Right. Okay. So one thing that I noticed right off the bat is very similar to the United States, and I only mention this because no other major country, whether the Europe, UK, Russia, China, Japan, or at least we haven't really spoken with any bands from China or Japan yet. So then, in reference to Europe or the UK, they don't have states, right? Here in the United States, as per the name of the country itself, we have 50 state territories. What is brand new to me is that you seem to be using a very similar language when it comes to designating Tijuana or Guadalajara or Monterrey. So is Mexico another one of those countries similar to the U.S. where you guys have territories? And if so, seemingly similar to the language and dialect of the United States. And I only ask this because this is brand new to me. I don't know why, but the American education system never taught us this. Do you guys have a similar state structure to the United States? And if so, how many states do you guys have in Mexico?
Yeah, it's totally the same as the United States. Like we actually have 31,
31.
31 on the capital. Yeah, 31 on the capital. And yeah, it's basically the same. Like the state in here is Jalisco, but the capital is Guadalajara. In the case of Baja California Norte, it's the state, but the capital is Tijuana.
Okay.
In the case of Nuevo León is the state, and Monterrey is the capital. And Mexico City, it's in the state, it's the capital
Right.
territory. It's like we used to call federal district, and it's in like an state. It's just like uh, oh, I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, it's in the state, Mexico City.
Okay.
It's like just the capital. The capital is in the state.
Interesting. Okay, that's interesting. I like that. Alrighty. And then after then confirming that there's a similar language as far as state territory designations throughout the 31 state territories of Mexico, including Mexico City, which really Guadalajara, Tijuana, Monterrey, Mexico City, Chihuahua, right? Those are all the capitals. And then there are a bunch of like smaller cities around them, but it still is a state territory. Next, then, I observed, and as I was listening, Guadalajara is responsible and is the birthplace of a lot of really important musicians. However, unlike Monterrey, unlike Mexico City, unlike Tijuana, or even Chihuahua, it is not nearly as big or condensed as a population, Guadalajara, as those other states. So it's like, yeah, a lot of the talent in Mexico's metal history comes from Guadalajara. But because Guadalajara is such a smaller city and there's less people, there's less demand for metal, let alone there's less people to give that metal performance to. So half the time you have to go to other state territories just to bring in enough attention and have enough people attending the shows that it is a even split as far as profit. Perhaps that is also an incentive to have European bands come out, because if you're going to these bigger cities where tourists come through when they're going on vacation, like, oh my god, let's go to Tijuana, Mexico, and you're like, yeah, cool, come on through, we got a metal band, you don't know shit about our metal scene, but if you happen to be into metal, you can come to the show. Maybe perhaps it is within the best interests currently of any thrash, metal, deathcore, or beatdown bands, even the heaviest of the heavy in Mexico. It is even within their best interest to play in these more popular tourist friendly state territories throughout Mexico if they are to hope to split even and not go negative in their bank accounts, negative with their money whilst being a musician. Like, you kind of have to maybe correlate metal bands in Mexico with those more tourist states. You have to go where everyone's going.
Mm, yeah, well, I think the place that everybody used to go in Mexico for vacation is actually Cancun and Playa del
Oh yeah.
Carmen. Like, well, it's the most famous place in Mexico for by far. Like, probably all the people that I met in Europe tell me like, oh, I went Cancun now, so I was like, yeah, everybody went Cancun now. It's like I just confirmed my theory, you know.
Right.
And yeah, like actually Cancun is a good place. I just went there one time in my life, and they actually have Melson and that shit, but they're not really active anymore. Like it's actually like a kind of reborn recently into Playa del Carmen. And there's a bunch of new bands that actually have like foreign members that actually the rich people, you know, the push guys that comes to Cancun and want to change their life, that shit, and they just stay in there and they start doing some music. They have like a hardcore scene. Like we never play in there, but I have a lot of friends there, and they actually invite us to the shows. And it's like probably we went there this year. I don't know. Probably we probably done. I don't know.
Okay.
There's not anything booked right now. But yeah, like actually, yeah. If you want to talk about like the theorems things about here, uh, Guadalajara probably is actually one of the famous cities in Mexico, right after Mexico City, for sure, because we have really close from Guadalajara tequila. Tequila is the literally the small town where tequila has been born, and
I see.
uh, yeah, yeah, the place it's probably named as the drink, you know.
Okay. Interesting.
Or
So,
probably the drink has the name of the city,
okay.
and it's really cool. Like I'm actually straight edge, and I don't really enjoy the city because it gives you free tequila everywhere, and I don't really enjoy the city, but it's really pretty. In case that you came to Guadalajara, it's a obligatory stop, and yeah, like all people knows, it's well known that we have several issues talking about security. That's not a secret, sadly. But yeah, it's like all good. Like, bruh, I can perfectly go out with the friends, have uh, hanging and have a chill time. Like everything's go well. Like uh, the cattle shit and that bad things only happens to people that wants to live that kind of life. I don't know how to explain, but if you're like just a chill person, like only all chill and doesn't any kind of problems, you'd be really good. But if you are the problematic people that actually find it, like, try to fight everywhere, and like if you're into drugs and that shit, you totally get that problems. Like
Right.
it's not common in here. Like nobody get killed for nothing.
Right. Right.
that
And
that's the reality.
right. And that's definitely something that with you and Enemy 906 being the first band based in Mexico that we've ever hosted, well, especially being born and raised here in Arizona, in Phoenix, Arizona, I've been told a great many stories, and as per what I said earlier, it's like no matter what, stay away from northern Mexico because that's where things go wrong for tourists and stuff. That's where people can get taken as hostages. And I'm like, well, why is that like the only thing you're telling me about Mexico? There must be other things about this country to be told. And half the people I've talked with, half the people that have told me these things, it's like they've never fucking been to Mexico. Like, I'm sorry, but you can't exactly spout nonsense if you haven't actually visited the country before. It would be the same thing as me saying that Indonesia is, the first thing I mention, right, is that they're actually responsible for most of the world's pollution. That would be unnecessary, that would be inappropriate, and that would be a bastardization that would then ruin someone's impression of an entire otherwise tropical jungle country. Now, don't get me wrong, that's definitely a thing, but that's not the first thing that you should mention about a country. Like, what if the first thing that people mention to someone based in the UK or Europe about the United States is, oh, they were the reason that Japan got bombed nuclearly two different times in one day, and they got two suns on top of the sun they already have. Imagine if someone introduced, like, say, someone happens to not know what the United States is. What if that's the first thing that they mentioned? That wouldn't be cool, would it? So it's like, today,
Yeah, it's like any country have uh perfect. Probably the only country that I know it's perfect to be places like Norway or Denmark and that shit. But there are small countries with low population, or places with a really big population as Mexico and United States obviously increase the crime, and obviously the crime is the only thing that goes out from the country. And obviously, the crime here in Mexico is totally another fucking level than in any other country because literally, like 7 years ago, they found like a truck full with bodies, like about 500 bodies here in my city. 500 bodies killed by the cartel. And like, it's sad to know that that's kind of normal in here, but let's be honest, like most of the people are into that life. Like I actually work into the buildings, like I'm civil engineer, so I have a lot of workers and that shit. And the workers used to be into time life, like that's something normal into uh, the building workers. Like they used to be in jail, they used to be in drugs and that shit. Like that's normal. Like the poor people here in Mexico used to try to find that life only to get like a little bit more of money.
yeah, yeah,
Like they think that's easy money, uh, and they are literally easy money. Like easy to be killed in that life. That's the fact. Totally easily to be killed. And sadly, actually, the 43% of the people in Mexico are poor. So that 43% of the people actually see the cartel as something normal or something cool.
yeah, yeah. And
And that, that's why we have a lot of people into that life. It's like literally just poor people. Like only the rich people into the cartel shit are the probably the what we call like a couple, like the the officers. I don't know That's the right word in English. But
Police.
yeah, they are only the rich ones, the leaders, you know?
Right, right. Well, then continuing upon that, that's definitely something that I was told. That's definitely something that at least we here in Arizona have been told over time is that for the most part, because, maybe because of that 43%, the cartel seems to have a big influence and big profile. They have a big influence on most of Mexico. I mean, I'm not sure if it's true. Maybe you could confirm this for me or not. But your latest president, your latest prime minister, was elected after like 27 different consecutive assassinations, like one after the other. Just people were getting assassinated. And then the person that's currently the president or prime minister of Mexico was then put into power. And then not only that, but I forgot the city, I forgot the state territory, but apparently there was a mayor that was assassinated or killed during I think during a public speech or something because she was speaking out against the current president, who, in theory, people assume and state she was put in there and she was a placement by the cartel as well. So if nothing else, having lived in Arizona my entire life, I've been told to not only stay away from southern Arizona, stay away from the border, but two, that, the cartel has a big influence on Mexico. And I mean, with that 43%, then it seems that that statement has a little bit more validity. So if you could do me a favor, sir, Rodrigo, and maybe educate us as to, in your opinion, having been born and raised in Guadalajara, having lived in Mexico your entire life, from what I understand, have you been told, and like in school, have you been told or educated as to when maybe the cartel in theory had so much influence on Mexico? Or like, is that a newer thing? Like, I want to educate my audience and myself as much as possible through your perspective.
Um, well, now that the cartel was something totally old, or recently goes totally out of the hands, like in 2006 exactly, the president in time just declared the war to the cartels because things were getting really, really wrong on those days. And probably you remember the cartel of the sea of the Stepas, the sea. That was probably one of the bloodiest cartels ever here in Mexico. And that was probably one of the main things that impels the old president declare the war to cartels, and war the war goes continue till 2012. Yeah, 2012. And yeah, the violence in the country just uh was getting higher and higher in those days. But recently, with the newest president, it's getting worse than before. Totally worse. Because actually, the party that has the power is probably the most corrupt from all the country by totally apart. Like, we all know that the president actually have moral influence, and she let them um, work without any kind of problem. Like, they have actually the politic, and I'm no fucking kidding, about bugs and not bullets. Like, literally, they say that, like, they're giving hugs to the criminal and not bullet. Bro, it's like, how the fuck you dare to say that public? And that's actually the fact. Like, nobody is trying to harm the criminals, you know? Like, they are out there, like, all free doing the shit that they want, and the government is not doing a thing because they are into the government.
Right.
Like, it's well known here in Mexico that the cartel aid the campaign from the president. It's well fucking know that. And yeah, there's actually not only one mayor that goes killed during campaign. Like actually, every single time that we have uh electoral campaign, elections campaign, sorry, uh, I think almost 100 of person goes killed every single time,
Wow.
and it's because yeah, it's fucking impressive the amount, but yeah, it's because literally here the cartel is into politics, totally, totally, the cartel is into politics, and yeah, like we cannot get a government as El Salvador does, but they are holding all the criminals because it's impossible. Like, how a criminal will on themselves,
Right.
It's just
Yeah.
impossible.
Fair
Yeah,
enough. Okay.
actually, the government's a fucking shit.
Yeah.
It sucks totally. Like, yeah, in 2006, before 2006, everything was like all chilling and nobody did a shit. Uh, yeah, the government started the war and it started everything. And
Right.
actually, they want to stop the war, for example, but they just want money.
Yeah, that's
The
true.
reality, the government sucks. That totally sucks.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
so politically, it's all screwed up.
right. Well, one beautiful thing that I have been seeing on a worldwide scale, and this also is in reference to Mexico, so this is a relevant statement to the audience. Um, I've been noticing that after having jumped onto the hype train of a certain animated show that originated from Japan, made by a mangaka, pardon me, an author named Ichida Oda. The show's called One Piece. After so long of seeing active revolts in Nepal, in Chile, um, I think also in Mexico too. I can't confirm. Maybe you can confirm this for me. It seems that there are many countries around the world who are retaliating and rebelling against their totalitarian or corrupt governments. But the important thing to mention, why I'm mentioning One Piece, is that I will witness and observe photographs of citizens hoisting the flag, the Jolly Roger of the main crew, and it's like now become a symbol of hope. So that's really cool to see. But do you think that in Mexico currently and its counterculture, that in the future, if the government is as corrupt as it is, are you hoping for a retaliation? And I know this is just like two people talking on a podcast and stuff, but still, this is what counterculture is all about, is implanting those seeds of hope. Do you think that in the future, whether on your own through the people or maybe with help from people just above the equator, just north of y'all, do you think that there's going to be a rising revolution where you guys are going to be taking back power and shit? Because I know I could always encourage that. Um, do you think that's something that could happen in the future? Or do you think it's like very, very uncertain right
No,
now?
I don't think so. It's like it works in places like I don't remember the name. Was Malaysia?
Malaysia, yeah.
It works. No, in Nepal. It
Nepal?
works in
Right.
Nepal because it's such a small country.
Right.
Such a small country, and the government having a lot of power. Like in here, like we just get silence. Like some some of the people that try to publish information about politics that they just got disappear.
Right. Right.
That's how it works in here. So I don't. I don't really think that might be possible here in Mexico. Sadly, but no,
Yeah,
all impossible.
probably
Probably,
it would have to be an intervention and like multiple outside countries getting involved as far as helping the people take back.
yeah. What people is telling about Donald Trump is trying to invade Mexico to relay the cartels and that shit. But honestly, I don't think that will happen. I doubt it happen. But I think only those kind of things can probably do the change, you know? Like, probably on this time, Donald Trump has it has mm, the chain. I don't know how to explain have
Right.
the key to
He,
have the key to change the change the politics in Mexico.
yeah, true.
Probably only only him. Like, I don't think any other country get into here. And if United States doesn't do an interview here in Mexico, like a real interview, intervention,
Intervention, yeah, there
I
you
don't
go.
know. Information, yeah, yeah.
An
I screwed
interview would
up.
just be a conversation like we're doing right now.
Yeah, it's like interview, like no, that's not interview yet. Yeah, but now like probably in the future we just become into the new Venezuela, you know? That's the
Oh
reality.
no, I really hope not, because I've been hearing a little bit about us like taking over ships and taking over trafficking ships and cargo ships and shit. And I'm like, is that really the way to go? And apparently we blew up some recently. I'm like, that's not the way to do things, guys. Like, there are countries that actually need our help to change. And by no means, like I said, do I regret my vote last fall. And I regret my vote last fall because not only are we seeing just like how slow things have been. I think the only person that I trust currently in the MAGA administration and the MAGA party would be Tulsi Gabbard, who I think is the real life Wonder Woman. She's been doing a really good job exposing adrenochrome factories and this and that over in Ukraine. And that's a really powerful thing. We would not have seen stuff like that, I don't think, if people like Tulsi Gabbard never got voted as head of Secretary of State or National Intelligence, I think. And then RFK Jr., you know, he's taking a lot of the agricultural companies like Kellogg, which make our cereal, he's taking them to court and forcing them to remove the artificial food dyes from our food and the pesticides, unnecessary ingredients, all of that from our food. That way we at least have a similar quality of food to other countries around the world. I think that's going to be a really, really big change, and it's going to be a good change going into next year, right? Other than that, I'm realizing and discovering, because I'm one of those people, as per the True Counterculture brand, I dig into all the conspiracy stuff. I really do. And seeing the truth and seeing how much Mr. Trump, President Trump, is actually well sewn into all the bullshit that I've been fighting against all these years, and we're only like now finding out about it, and only after he's been voted in. It's rather embarrassing. It is. But what can you do? You know, when you're the average Joe or Jane and you just happen to host a show like I do, where you talk with bands all over the world and hope to get their perspective on things and how things are going on in their side of the world. There's only so much a conversation can do. And that's why, you know, very, very big difference between an interview and an intervention. An interview is just a recorded, documented conversation. It's a conversation that's supposed to have relevance, something that the parties involved in said conversation think the conversation will be important, right? An intervention, well, that could be for drug addiction, that could be for corruption, and you're absolutely right, Rodrigo. That's the one thing that Mexico could use right now, if you're able to confirm everything that I've been raised and told about, really, because I've only been around since '99. Then, yeah, Mexico and its political offices, its political parties, the people in power, they need an intervention. They need a reality check. Otherwise, you guys will continue to drown, and, well, the further away we get from global poverty, the better. So, with all that in mind, right, I think the last thing I wanted to ask you regarding Mexico, right, and just getting more of an impression as we get more and more comfortable with you in this conversation, what is something that you love about Guadalajara or the parts of Mexico that you've been to throughout your life? What are some of the beautiful things that people are missing out on? And maybe kind of think of this as a travel a travel opportunity or vacation promotion, right? It's like, hey, come to Guadalajara. Like, we got this going on. What's going on?
Probably I be sounding as the most cliche as everybody can say it, like the obviously things that everybody knows in Mexico that have such amazing food. Basically, the food here is fucking amazing. Like I try food in many other countries, and there's nothing like here in Mexico. And I can tell you, especially that the the best food actually I tried here in Mexico is in Tijuana. They actually have the best tacos I ever tasted in my life. Tacos, pizza, and that shit's totally crazy. Here in Guadalajara, we have a special food that not many, well, probably you will not find in any other city from Mexico, and it's called torta ahogada. Torta ahogada, it's something totally unique from here. You will not find in any other place, and I think that's probably the best that you can see here.
Okay.
And fuck, bro. An idea. We have a lot of good food here in Guadalajara, like uh, cricayas, but cricayas is it's a dessert actually. So you can try it, and it's about like pan back house. Like it's really cheap, really cheap. Probably less than a bag. I don't know.
Okay.
And I don't know the carne en su jugo. Carne en su jugo. It's literally uh like a beef soup, but it's with really a lot of beef, and it's really good. Actually, the birria is probably one of the most famous things in Mexico.
Oh, beer.
And birria,
Oh, birria. Okay. What is birria?
yeah, yeah, the birria, it's probably one of my favorite meals ever. And chilaquiles, enchiladas suizas, and that shit. Probably they are basically the shit, you know.
Understood. Okay.
And yeah, and well, a lot of people says like the girls in here are really pretty. Like it's well known that girls here in Guadalajara, it's probably one of the prettiest in the entire country. And that's probably right. Like, I will not say that it's all right because you can find pretty girls everywhere, even in the States, even in any other country.
You just have to find the
But
right gems.
especially yeah, yeah, yeah. But I don't know, like, a lot of people say that girls in Sinaloa are the best girls ever, but I be honest, the girls in Sinaloa is oh, what to explain?
He's like,
They have a lot of
how do I say
surges.
this without sounding like a dick?
Yeah, no, they have a lot of surgery, you know,
Mm.
and that's like the normal thing in Sinaloa, like to get surgery for everything,
Mm.
and that's why the girls are really pretty, you know, like
Right.
they're fabricated, and and here in Guadalajara, the girls are probably more naturals and that shit, you know.
I see. Well, that's
You can
definitely
find pretty girls everywhere, to be honest.
yeah, exactly. Well, here's the thing too. Speaking back upon food and agriculture, right? Diet. When you're in a place, when you're in a country, UK, Europe, most likely everywhere except for the United States, before now, like as we go into 2026, from what I'm understanding, the food, the agriculture is going to be a lot better. The food's going to be a lot healthier. But before that, like, yeah, our food was kind of shit. So that's why we have so many more obese people, okay? These are the monsters, and
That's
half
true.
like the amalgamations that you see on a lot of slam album covers. That's what Americans actually look like sometimes, and it's fucking embarrassing. So then you separate yourself from that. You go to these other countries where, I don't know, the produce, the meat, the even the snacks aren't nearly as processed as they are in the United States, and therefore you're going to have a lot more attractive, a lot more natural, I would dare say organic people, because they are healthier. They're a lot less bloated. They have less of a tendency to invest into pharmaceuticals or prescription drugs that will then counteract the shitty food that they're ingesting, and therefore they look a lot healthier. That, and when you are in a country that maybe compared to the United States is a lot more physical labor demanding, and I'm just speaking for most of the countries around the world where farming is still a big thing and it's not even just a monopoly. This is a part of people's lives still. And this is not to say, by the way, that there aren't farmers still in the United States. There are plenty of farmers. But the thing is, even the farmers are getting their seeds that they use to grow the plants. They're getting those seeds bought out, ripped out, and then you have absolute cunts. That's the only time I'll probably ever use that word this session. You have cunts like Bill Gates, who give them these very, very mutated, almost plastic seeds for these genetically modified versions of all the produce that we've been doing all these years. Other countries don't do that. So in that way too, other countries are more organic, and they really put their back into making sure that the produce is made well. I mean, hell, one of the statements before election season last fall, right, was, even if a bunch of people are not here in the United States legally, if you kick them out, who's going to take care of your plants and who's going to take care of your crops and your produce? And
Yeah,
it's
that's
it's
true.
it's such an audacious thing to say, in my opinion, because a lot of people here in the United States are missing work. So I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, that's true to a certain degree. But like, imagine having the audacity to say, well, who's going to actually take care of your produce and plants and this and that? I'm like, well, people here are the same way that these people who are here because they bypass certain legal processes, like they would be doing the same thing back at home, but because 43% of the country is poor, like they can't really make money over there. So then that's another reason they come here, is to utilize our take, our currency, and make a better profit off of what they've already been doing for years. And there's nothing wrong with that. So in that case, right, in that statement, I'm still about going through the legal process, and the statement is rather audacious, like, who's going to take care of your crops and shit? I'm like, well, people here that don't have jobs yet. But at the same time, yeah, I absolutely agree. For the longest time, hard-working people from Mexico, who weren't here legally, they were indeed the last stand, I think, against people like Bill Gates integrating themselves into our agriculture and making even more of our food so poisonous for us. So, when you have all these countries around the world that naturally work harder, or, you think of countries like Italy, where, no, not even Italy, but yes, also Italy, where in the middle of the day they just take a 2-hour break and then they just have lunch with their families or some shit. When you have healthier, more organic, more hearty, more good for the soul processes like that, you are going to produce a more attractive people. That's the bigger point I was trying to make. I know I rambled on there for a little bit. Rodrigo's like, I don't know where to jump in on this. Naturally, when you are a harder working people and you have more natural processes, more natural product that you're consuming, you're going to develop a more attractive people. Let alone, you're going to produce a lot less gold diggers. Like we have way too many of those here in the United States, and it's so fucking annoying. Like all of these people, not even just women, but I'm straight, I guess. So I guess the the gender that I would be attracted to does correlate with this. But you got a lot of people who are so much more open to just using others for their own benefit and using other people that are successful for the money that person B just doesn't want to work for. Like that's it's such a garbage part of American culture, and I'm so done with it. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, but the important thing is the United States is made up of a culture, a melting pot of cultures that melted so much that like our brains got turned to mush, and we've been encouraged to do a lot less and to indulge in all these less healthy processes, and therefore we just have a less healthy people, and it's a damn shame. But I think that will be the end of the location part of today's podcast interview conversation, right? Now, and look at that, fucking right on the dot. Boop. Part 3, we are going to be talking a little bit more about Enemy 906. And because we only have one member in session today, there's only so much hive mind level information we can receive. The intention usually is that by hosting multiple members, we can see if we can get similar answers across the board. However, you were essentially the founding member of this project, as you encouraged, coerced could be a word, but encouraged sounds healthier, other members from natural selection to join you in writing slower but still heavy deathcore, right? And therefore Enemy 906 was born. So very similar to Defamed, very similar to other bands that we've seen around the global scene, or at least that I've observed, Enemy 906 is a reincarnation, a soft reincarnation breaking off from the main hive mind. So, how did you come up with the name Enemy 906 for this band?
Damn it, I wasn't expecting this question, but yeah. Well, enemy was basically because I had some several issues with the local friends that actually are known as well natural selection, by example, and they always call us only natural, you know? And we say like, bro, let's do a band with only one word shortened and that everybody can pronounce well, whatever they were from. Like, impossible to pronounce enemy wrong, you know? Impossible, totally impossible to pronounce wrong. So that's the mainly fact that we decide to call the enemy. Like, we were just trying to find hard words and aggressive words and that shit. And we say like, let's call him enemy, only enemy. Like that was enemy, the name of the band. But we start saying that there's totally a bunch of bands named enemy, and we were like, come on, let's add something else. But I don't find any kind of word that can match well with enemy because we were only in mind to name the band enemy, and like it was like, no, bro, it's only enemy. The band it's only enemy. So seeing a lot of beatdown and hardcore bands that actually add some numbers into their names to make it like different. By example, Balboa from Belgium, they have Balboa 40, 49,000. And there's Machete one, 187 from Scotland. And I don't know, bro. There's a lot of bands with numbers and there's names. And every band has like a specific how to explain specific uh description. I don't know on their
Right. Well,
numbers. Like
yeah, like for example, King 810 from Flint, Michigan, they did 810 because that's the zip code for Flint, Michigan.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Most of the bands are about the zip codes. For example, as I tell you, Balboa from Belgium, the 40 49,000 is the zip code from Belgium, from the region they're from. And actually, Machete 187, the 187 is the cup, the cup call, I don't know, for murder,
Okay.
like that's really famous. 187. So we were like about to put enemy 44 44 800 because that's the zip code of Guadalajara, 44 800. So we
Right.
say like, nah, it's a lot. It's too really big. So we try to follow the same way Machete did, like adding police code in the name, and we were like searching like full police codes that can be added in the name, and we found the yeah, that's the reality, bro. And we found the 906. That the 906 is the Mexican. Well, no, no, sorry. We thought it was the Mexican police code for sexual aggression. So we say
Hmm.
like, oh yeah, we are enemy for sexual aggressors. Yeah,
I
and
see.
we say, oh, we're really tough. We're tough, but uh, researching the police code that we add to the band, we just discovered that the place that we taken wasn't for the Mexican police, was the Colombian police.
Oh.
So, so we are enemy of Colombian sexual aggressors. Yeah, basically.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
but that's the origin of their name. Like enemy 906 means the 906 is the police code for sexual aggression in Colombia. But we thought it was in Mexico, but just discovered that we were wrong
Okay.
really, really late.
Well, I mean,
So
there's
yeah,
always
that's
the
the story
opportunity.
about the name.
Yeah, there's always the opportunity to like change the name if you guys really wanted to. But other than that, you guys.
Nah, nah, nah. Yeah, we don't really want to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So
Like what is done, it's done, and that's it.
exactly. And it ends up being kind of funny to look back on too. And it's like, well, most bands they're just like the name sounds cool. You guys are like, nah. Not only did enemy sound sick because we felt to be the enemy of the form at the time of natural selection, which was just getting in our way. So we're the natural selection enemy or something. You're just like, bah. But then after that, unlike other bands who use zip codes, you're like, no, what would be a good police code? And then, you happen to mess up on the country that the police code was for sexual aggressors. But in my opinion, too, that works out really well because right out the gate, sure, there was a little misunderstanding, but the message is still there. You guys are no tolerance with
Yeah.
sexual predators, and that should be something any beatdown or hardcore or deathcore band should come out the gates with. Doesn't matter, if they're trying to be rather neutral, because not all child predators or sexual predators are at the root of themselves bad people, question mark,
General,
like,
totally in general.
yeah, exactly. Like death penalty for all of them. Period. The moment that they decide to act upon their impulses and decide to victimize someone else and continue that chain of torture, continue that chain of trauma, well, they've become a part of the chain and they need to have that link broken permanently, in my opinion. But in that case, we have the background on the band name now. What do you think separates Enemy 906 from other bands in the beatdown community?
So I tell you, think that we don't really have a lot of differences between uh, the European bands, but we sound totally different as bands in the United States about beatdown bands. By example, I don't know, Knuckle Sandwich guys or Fierce Degree, by example. Like we sound totally different. Like we are probably much more closer to be a deathcore band, and I think that's the difference against the United States beatdown bands against to us. Because if you listen bands like Harlequin, by example, they actually have deathcore riffs too, and they are pretty similar to us. Or well, may probably well said. We are similar to Harlequin. They goes first, and uh we get totally uh into their music before we start composing our own stuff. Yeah,
Okay.
and uh, talking about the origins of the genre, beatdown is basically a slowly hardcore music, and we just add the deathcore breakdowns in the music.
Right.
And
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
basically that we did.
Okay.
And well, it's not common to see people into hardcore bands doing pig squeals and that shit, you know.
Right.
Like most of them only screaming, and yeah, that's why I totally say that we are much more closer to becoming to a deathcore band than a hardcore band.
Oh yeah.
And actually, we're working into a new album, and the new album is pretty much closer to hardcore than to deathcore.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, the or it sends even there like it's still like something like a hardcore song, but I add some pig squeals and that shit, you
Okay.
know.
So maybe more slam
But
leaning
yeah,
this time around, but the intention from the beginning has been to, as per the embrace of beatdown, to attempt to integrate hardcore with deathcore by having slower, groovier parts, but still plenty of that like heavier punk style in there. And then on top of that, infusing that with your prolific origins, that being from Guadalajara, as per the Guadalajara beatdown in your Spotify bio. It's like there are many subgenres that you're taking inspiration from, but the one that you want people to recognize the inspiration from the most would be the hardcore and deathcore, and just attempting to sew in between that and just kind of create a whole barbed wire mess in there. Like, you guys aren't exactly metallic hardcore. You guys, maybe with this new album, wouldn't compare yourself more to Kublai Khan, Orthodox, or Knocked Loose, but instead maybe the last 10 seconds of life or other more prolific hardcore bands. I remember you mentioned World of Rot or World of Punishment, something like that.
World of Pain.
World of Pain, right? So perhaps with this newer album that you guys are cooking up for next year, maybe it will take more direct inspiration, even then through the hell, from World of Pain or Knuckle Sandwich. And perhaps this newer record will embrace the graffiti logo style a little bit more. Who knows? Or at least I definitely don't know, because I'm not behind the scenes with you guys, but that's also why we're here.
I like to show you apart from the newest songs. But I don't know if can sounds well hearing the box headset audio, you know. But
Right.
let's fucking try it out.
Let's try it out. Absolutely. Okay. Here is the first one.
¿O no?
Okay. I think that's a pretty good preview of one of them. And then we'll go ahead and play a preview of the second track you sent. Ooh, I like that. All right. So that then would be a preview of two of the upcoming unreleased songs, right, from Enemy 906?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Actually, the first song is about to call uh Bullets, if I'm bad. Both in that song, Building Flesh will do a featuring. Uh, guys doesn't answer me anymore.
Hell yeah.
Like yeah, but so I decided to record all the song by myself, and yeah, but originally that song's supposed to have a Building Flesh in there,
Okay. Interesting.
and the other song, World of Pain, it actually have the guy of World of Pain there,
Okay.
and yeah, probably my actually. And yeah, the other four songs it's like Rage is gonna be in that new album too. So actually listen three new songs. And the other three songs is like um another one with Desolate from United Kingdom and another one with the guys from Recount. And the other song is a short one that we want to use it as a intro.
I see. Okay. Cool. No, we definitely got some stuff to bring Enemy 906 back on for in 2026. And if we can manage to make the session work and get Enemy 906 comfortable with our process, I would love to bring the other members back on, or the other members on. But what I want to do,
Uh, Sadly, the only member that actually speaks English is me.
right,
The other
right,
guys doesn't speak a shit English.
right, and that's okay. If yeah, like if they're comfortable with jumping on the show despite that, and maybe like I said, I can either have my AI integrated Spanish to English translating earbuds in, or we can figure out something else. I mean, we've made it work before with a Russian and Malaysian band, so that's the only reason I mention it. Otherwise,
Yeah,
that's completely okay.
yeah, we can try to do it. Like probably this is the very first interview that I have been into only in English. Like I have other three interviews before, was all in Spanish, and probably that's all that we done.
I see.
And it's always only me. Like the other guys never be present in any of them. So I will be interesting to see them participating into an interview.
Right. No, absolutely. So we got two final questions for you, Rodrigo. First, what did you think about the Anatomy
Okay.
Crosscast so far? What did you think of the first date session? Did you have any negative critique to offer, or things you would suggest to the three hosts running this show to help improve it for maybe future bands from Mexico who we managed to get onto the show?
Well, I think it's such a good tool for bands that wants to make something different. Like I totally enjoy this conversation because I don't used to talk in English. So this is this helps me out get more fluent into the language. So probably this might helps a lot of Mexican bands with people that actually doesn't have the English fluency, and well, I don't know, like I, I I haven't any wrong to tell you. Like I totally enjoy this space, and I love to see more of my friends' bands that probably have more stories to tell, and can totally contact you to them. Like I have friends into bands like comes the Kraken by example, probably the most famous deathcore band in Mexico. So I can tell those guys to contact you or you contact them
Yeah,
and see if
absolutely.
probably the interview might works.
Yeah.
Actually, as I tell you, my friends from Ladrones, they are really big in here. Like they actually have probably the best guitarist here in Mexico. That is Macario. Macario is used to be into a band named Arcadia Libre. The band actually dies, but he's still doing some noise with Ladrones, and I'm pretty sure they both bands have good stories to tell. Actually, I don't know, Del Barrio, by example, actually have cool stories that always tell me.
Okay.
And probably works. Like, I can help you out without contacting a lot of bands. Like, you told me about Recount. I talk with them all single fucking days.
Hell
So
yeah.
I can tell them to grab you and really do a new chapter for Recount, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know.
So yeah, that actually segues into the final question would be like, what bands would you recommend to the Anatomy Crosscast? So I remember Ladrones, which is a big band in Mexico. There's Recount. What was the name of the deathcore band? The first deathcore band you suggested?
Here comes the Kraken.
Oh, Here Comes the Kraken. Okay, cool. That's a sick name. Okay. So that's three bands. What other bands would you recommend to the show that you can remember, like, in the moment? Because otherwise, I'm going to have you message me on Instagram and just give me a whole freaking list, or even just give me a link to
Actually,
their Instagram.
actually, I did a complete Spotify list. I don't know what's the name. Spotify list with all the Mexican active bands into hardcore and deathcore stuff. But I can definitely recommend you all my friends from Beneath the Horror. They are actually from my crew, so I have to recommend them. Actually, my friends from Call for Revenge, Uno a Uno. What else? What else? From Monterrey, I recommend you The Fight Is Now, Contusión. I don't know. I In Mexico we have such a good, amazing bands, and they definitely have to be here for in other countries. But the situation actually is that not many of them speaks English, and they are not really like interesting to play in any other countries, or probably they are, but they don't have the opportunities about the language because it's a barrier. Like, uh, I will not say that I suffer, but but my friends when we were playing in Europe were always depending on me. Like, bro, tell them that I want my burger without lettuce or something like that.
So you're like, God damn it,
And
I guess I'm the
then
translator for all my friends.
yeah, like I did the translating for guys. I was selling all the merchandising. I was into the sound guys. So I was working really hard the entire tour. And the guys were like just passing a chill time because they don't understand the shit.
Oh my god. Okay. Well, understood. Then perhaps there are a lot of bands to be recommended to the show, but there is definitely going to be that language barrier. And well, as far as I'm concerned, in the situations, in the crosscast sessions where we've had to attempt to conquer that obstacle, we've done it pretty well. Like, really, all I can recommend for any band who might not be the best at speaking English, but you are interested in jumping onto the show. Doesn't matter what language, because literally, whatever email you send me, I'll just select the entire passage, and then, let's not lie, I'll use Google Translate to translate it, right? Translate it to English, and then we can coordinate a day. I'm willing to do all of that if that means that the Anatomy Crosscast, for example, can have a powerful presence in the Mexico scene. Like, look at me. I am not Mexican at all. I just happen to be living in the state that's closest, or one of the states in the U.S. that's closest to Mexico, right? I am not Mexican, but the thing is, I would love to host as many bands from Mexico, Spain, Portugal, you name it, as possible. I want to do it. I want to make it happen because who knows, one day that could be the difference between us traveling down to Mexico to go with certain bands and then go to haunted locations in Guadalajara or Tijuana, wherever they could be. That could be an opportunity because that's one of the things that I want to turn this show into is, sorry for my phone notification for Timu. One of the things I want to do one day is turn these conversations into paranormal investigations and go ghost hunting, or even as silly as it sounds, go hunt for the Wendigo with the members of Enemy 906. Go beat down a skinwalker with this beatdown band from Guadalajara. That would be so cool. But to do that, we have to ignore these language barriers and figure out a way to navigate around it. But I do believe, sir, that that will be the end of this Anatomy Crosscast session. It is currently 12:12 p.m. for me on the 28th of December. Thank you, Rodrigo, for the conversation, and I look forward to getting this Crosscast out, sir. Until next time.
Thank you so much, bro. I hope to see you soon. And I tell you, like, you actually have my number, so
Yes,
whatever you need, I'm totally here. I'm
absolutely.
totally here. Like, I, I, I I will send you my